Hey guys, it's Derrick here with On the Horizon podcast, and we're coming at you from the Cowboy Christmas here at NFR, and we've got Clay Tryan here. He has been to the NFR over 20 times in team roping, and he'll be signing at the Circle Y booth here at 1 o'clock as well. So we're going to bend his ear a little bit about team roping and the industry, and then we'll turn him loose to Circle Y. So, Clay, I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit, you said you've been to 20 NFRs. How did you get started in the team roping world?
My dad, he made the NFR in 1984, and I kind of just grew up in a roping family. My mom was a barrel racer, my dad team roped, and I just kind of grew up around it. So it wasn't a huge shock that that's what I wanted to do, I guess.
So why team roping and not tie down?
Oh, I think my dad was just a team roper, and kind of where I'm from, no one really roped calves hardly. I'm from Montana, and I don't know, just loved team roping, and from a young age, and just kind of always went that way. Looking back, I probably wish I would have roped calves a little bit.
Well, it's funny, we've talked to a couple guys this week, and it seems like there's pockets, right? So like, oh, well, if you're from Oklahoma, you calf rope.
Yeah,
if you're from Stephenville, you team rope.
Yeah.
So you see that kind of.
It's still, I mean, their team roping's huge now. It's everywhere, but I think it helps to be from the South because of the weather. That helps a lot. But, yeah, they team rope a lot in Montana. They team rope a lot in Canada. It's kind of all over. But I think, like a lot of the rough stock riders, I think used to be from the Dakotas and stuff like that. So, yeah, it is. There is little pockets. And
so when you tell me about what was the first team roping horse you had? You still remember? And
that I learned to rope on. Yeah, his name was Ted, and my dad actually rode him at the NFR. He was a chestnut, good-looking horse, and my dad actually rode him at the NFR. And so when I learned how to rope, he was older then, and Ted. I have brothers that rope. They all learned to rope on him too. Yeah, Ted was his name.
That's a heck of a horse to start out on NFR.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was a good horse.
Cool. So tell me a little bit. We talked a little bit yesterday. I've got a 12-year-old that we're trying to get kind of started in it, and you've got your son's here at the NFR as well. You said he's starting on the junior side, and looks like you're gonna have another team roper in the family. So what is the best way to get somebody who's interested in getting started in team roping started?
You probably, it was easier for me because that's what I grew up around, but you probably need to go to a roping clinic and kind of get a good foundation and learn where to start, and then you're going to have to get in with some people that already do it. And,
are you putting on any clinics?
I do some randomly, but just here and there. But you kind of need to learn how to do it the right way. Nowadays, though, you can get on YouTube, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of information out there where you can kind of see how it's done and learn how to do it.
Well, I know, we were doing some background checking on you before we came on today, and I was like, oh man, I've seen these YouTube videos. So I've seen YouTube videos of you and Smarty doing some training as well. Yeah,
like I said, nowadays it's easy to find. You can get on your phone and find it. It was a little harder to get started back in the day, but I think if your kid's gonna do it, go find a clinic to go to and kind of have somebody that knows what they're doing, kind of teach you how to do it, and try to get around a good group of people because it is kind of a sport to where, if you're a hobby roper, say, there's groups of people, there's roping clubs and stuff like that. The professionals kind of do it more individually, but.
So talk to me a little bit about, so I just had Circle Y build me a custom saddle the other day, and I was, interested in, and it was interesting, we were working on fit, like me in terms of sizing and sizing the seat, and one thing that the Circle Y crew really mentioned is that you're a big advocate of making sure almost a tighter fit. And they're like, oh, don't do this size, it's too big for you. Clay Tryan always rides a little tighter. But talk to me about saddle fit when it comes to roping and why that is a thing that you've kind of become known for, at least in our.
Yeah, well, I think it's changed over the years. When I was a kid, everybody had like a 16-inch seat. Now I'm even way bigger than when I was a kid, and they're 14-inch seats. But you're just locked in. It helps you ride better. There's not a huge gap. It's just easier to sit in the middle of your horse.
So when you're doing your roping versus if you're doing ranch work or whatever, are you in different size seats then, or you are comfortable being in that?
Yeah, I'm comfortable just being in that seat. For me, like I said, it doesn't change much for me. I don't do a lot of ranch work, but when I do got to gather cows out of the pasture or something, it's the same saddle.
Well, it was kind of fun because I was like, oh no, I need a 15 and a half. They're like, no. You don't. I'm like, man, like Clay Tryan in 14.
What did you like better?
I don't know. I ended up with a 15.
Yeah, I think sometimes you gotta. If you're used to a bigger seat, you slowly got to work your way to the smaller seat.
Yeah, it was harder to like feel where the pocket was going to be. I felt like I needed to be a little bit further back.
Yeah, I think it takes some getting used to. I remember like the first time I ever started using a smaller seat, it felt a little weird at first, and then it was like, why didn't I do this the whole time?
So tell me a little bit about. So we've got a Clay Tryan Edition saddle at Circle Y. So tell me what makes that saddle unique and special in terms of the features in that make it right for Team Roper.
Well, just the way they fit a horse and the way they ride. The stirrups, like I always say, you want just like your shoulders like a straight line to your feet, like your shoulders, everything right underneath you, your feet not in front of you or in back of you. And I know Circle Y and Reinsman do a good job of just making the saddles fit your horse good and ride good. That's the feel you want. If you're comfortable in your saddle, for me, you're just a lot more confident. Like if you get in a saddle that don't feel that good and it's kind of tilting you back or tilting you forward, it just doesn't feel like it's as easy to do your job.
So now what about horn? I'd picked the horn shape that was a little more back. Yeah. And we got in, they're like, no. You want to make something more level for roping so you don't have one slide off. So talk to me a little bit about if somebody's looking at a rope saddle and they're looking at the horn, what's the best pick for?
Well, for me, I like a taller horn. I mean, I think a horn's a little bit of a personal preference, but I know for me, I like a little bit of a taller horn that's flat, and then just a smaller horn, it just feels like it's I don't know, just maybe a smaller target, I guess, and so I like a little bit of a taller horn.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, so going back to over 20 NFRs here, what have you seen be the biggest change? We've been asking people a lot, over the last week here, like when you started to the event that's happening tonight. If you were to pick, a couple things here that you're like, man, that is so different than when I was really in this thing.
It's changed. I mean, obviously everybody gets better in the events, but it's this trade show that we're at right now is huge. Yeah. But it was pretty big when it started. Yeah. I think I was right at the start of when it blew up. Like 2001 was the first time I made it.
Nice.
And they already had a couple trade shows then, and it feels like there's more people now here than there was even then, and there was a lot then. So it's a huge event. And when you're in the rodeo, you can tell because you got to get here a couple days before it or whatever. The town's kind of empty, and then once the rodeo starts, it's packed for 10 days.
Talk about that grind. I mean, it has to be, being here for 10, 11 days. You're working through, and you get, which we always, my wife and I have always talked about. Man, it's so crazy because these guys will travel across the country, be here for 2 weeks, and you get 3 seconds, 5 seconds, or 9 seconds.
Yeah. Well, the rest of the year is harder, really, because this is easy. This is why you do it, because, but like during the year, you'll drive a lot of long ways to run one steer, and it is kind of crazy when you sit back and think about it. But if you grew up roping and you want to kind of test your skills out to see how good you really are, I mean, doing this is what you got to do, and it became my life. I didn't really think about it. It would just become, this is how you do it, this is how you live, and just kind of got used to doing it. But the travel is the worst part by far when you get older. When you're younger, you don't even really think about it. But when you get older.
Well, on the rope side, I mean, dude, you're not just like, hey, let's throw this in the car and go. I mean, you got the whole entourage of stuff you got to travel with.
It's
way more complicated.
The horses, and it is a process. Like I said, when I did it, it didn't seem like that big a deal, and like I'm still involved in it quite a bit, obviously, not trying to make the NFR, but kids doing it and stuff. But it's your life. It takes a lot of work. I mean, these guys that make it here, they're putting some effort in to make it here.
So I thought it was interesting. We've been hearing a lot, and I didn't know this really until this year kind of coming out, that there's a lot of guys in some of the timed events that are riding either different horses each night or a horse that it wasn't the horse that got them here. Like, what was your kind of thoughts on that? Did you ride the same horse that got qualified, or did you switch horses based on venue? Like, what was your kind of approach on that?
I mean, I had some that didn't work good here. It's so fast that I think it's even changing more than even say 10 years ago, because it's so fast. Yeah, there's some horses that people hardly but it's mostly ride here. Yeah. But it's a different setup. It's a fast setup.
Well, it's such a small arena.
Small arena, and some horses work really good in small arenas like that, and some don't.
I guess
and so you just got to you kind of know, but you don't. If you're riding a new horse that's never been there, you don't really know until you ride them. I mean, you got an idea, but and you're shocked sometimes that like it didn't go as good as you thought, or it went better than you thought.
So
it can go both ways.
What was your approach to, you know, as you're in the smaller stadium, trying to make a fast time on it? What in a you know we got a pretty quick corner we got to make here. What was your strategy going into the NFR in this particular arena?
Just be ready. I always tell people the hardest thing to get ready for, because a lot of people think that they rope fast, right? A lot of, I don't want to call them amateur rodeo guys or guys that have never made it. Well, they always say, well, if you could just get me to the NFR, I would do good. Well, for one, it's the hardest part is making the NFR. But once you make it, I know in the team roping, it happens so fast. Yeah. It's hard to even explain. During the year, it doesn't feel like it happens that fast. And so stuff's happening, like you got to react so quick, and the steers run pretty hard. Little arena, the building's got a lot of energy in it. It's just got a different feel than anywhere else by far.
So thinking about if you were thinking about a run that comes to mind in your career, you're like, man, that was everything just clipped off perfect. It was beautiful. I would do that over and over again. Describe that set up in that run for me.
Probably for me, because it was the first one. I won the first world championship in 2005. Round 9 we won it. We were 3-5. And we said for that, so that was, you know, it's almost 20 years ago now, so that would have been that was a world record at the time. So that run probably stands out because it was the first time we did it. Our first time I won a gold buckle. So, and we needed to do good to win it, and we won round 9, and that kind of did it for us.
And you were on the head side.
Yeah.
So it was so interesting. We were watching last night. You got some guys now, it's like 2 loops, out, it's long rope, and then, you know, like Coleman Proctor was super short last night.
Yeah.
Deal or miss, but.
Like sometimes it's just I mean, in our world we call it getting a good go. Sometimes you get a good start and you're just on top of the steer. And sometimes they get away from you, like mistime it a little bit, and the steer really runs, and then he's a long ways away. And it's crazy how fast that really happens.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the guys want to get them here on a little bit shorter rope because it's easier to be fast, but sometimes the steers just get away from you, and then you got to reach your ways.
How much do you know about the steer that you draw beforehand? Is there a lot? You know, I know like a lot of the rough
you
shot
know a
guys
little bit, but they change a little bit. They get slower usually as the week goes on. But this set looks pretty strong. The roping this year. I mean, every set.
Big steers.
Yeah, they're not little. I mean, I roped them at a roping before they brought them out here, and they were strong as you wanted. They were hard. They were running fast. That's
awesome.
For sure.
So on that run, talk to me about the feeling of knowing you set a world record. Did you know instantly? So they put up on the screen?
Yeah. Crazy? I think so. I mean, I'm trying to remember back, but yeah, the clock, you kind of, when you face team roping, like, because you got to look at the flagger when he drops the flag, then you undally or whatever. But then the clock's just kind of right there. So yeah, I saw 3-5.
So for guys that listen to this podcast that don't know much about team roping, there's always seems to be, like, when we go to a rodeo with somebody and they're like, well, they caught them. Like, why did the clock, continue to run a little bit here and there? Explain in the team roping event, when does the clock officially start? What things do you get penalized for? Just so that somebody in like our hunting podcast here that may not be familiar with it.
Yeah, well, they have it's like they call it a barrier, and it's a rope in front of you. You sit in a box is what we call it, and you got to let the steer a head start, and it's hooked to him, and there's a rope in front of you, and you can't leave too soon or you'll break the barrier, they call it. So that starts the time. And then once you make the run, after you rope the horns and the heeler ropes the back feet, both horses have to face, and that's when they drop the flag.
Nice. And so when the horses turn, that's why there's a little delay sometimes.
Yeah, when they face each other. Some horses do it better than others. Here, everybody's horse is going to do it pretty good because people know. But there's still some here that are better than others. Yeah. Huge advantage when they're good at it.
So how much have you seen over 20 years that the horses themselves have changed?
I think they've gotten better. Just everybody's better. Like everybody that's at the end. Like when I first made the NFR, it wasn't as fast. Because making the NFR ain't about like the fastest runs, right? Like it's about their longer scores. So you go to like say the Reno rodeo, and you got to let the steer out along. It's a longer start. So a lot of guys would make it that just knew how to rope on long scores and get here and not be that good. And nowadays, everybody's good that's here. Like, they're fast.
So explain when you say on long scores, meaning like just a bigger arena?
They get they get a bigger head start when you go.
The barrier actually is a long.
Oh yeah, and that's this is the shortest barrier here all year by far.
I did not know that.
So to make it ain't making it on stuff like this. It's making it on stuff where you have to, that's way harder. This is an easy setup. So what we mean by setups, like this is easy. It's hard because you got to be so fast, but it's easy. It's not hard. Yeah. Whereas like when you go to Reno or Cheyenne, it's hard.
So what is it? Just because that steer's so far out there now, you're making a longer delivery?
Yeah. Well, you got to run them far. Yeah. Just there, you have to throw it farther usually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So coming up, so on that world record being at 3.5, if you were to run that same situation in a long start, what would a time be that you're like, man, that's a cruising time?
It's getting faster now, but like 4s, short 5s.
It's not a whole lot longer.
It isn't, but like there, you're not going to be the 3.6s. Like they're being 3.6 every night now. Like
I know.
There used to be like, I think my first NFR I won around, I think I was 3.8 or 3.9, and I think it was the only 3 all week. 2001. Now they're being 3 round 1.
What is changing that? Is it
just people learn to go? It's just like every sport when you watch it. The old guys say, baseball that, hitting 100-mile-an-hour fastball is if you know it's coming, it ain't that hard.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, it's not like hitting an 85-mile-an-hour fastball, right? So every sport gets better over time. Kids, the way they see it when they're 10 years old is what they try to emulate, and it just keeps getting better and better.
So on the rope selection side, have you got a particular rope that you go to, and how do you, and I've often wondered, because sometimes when I'm watching, you'll see a guy, it looks like he's got, I know it's not a brand new rope, but it looks like a newer rope, and then you got a couple of guys, I'm like, oh, okay, that guy's got a rope burn.
Yeah. I think it's personal preference. I like them a little bit newer, but some guys like them older, and then you'll get one that feels really good, and you'll just keep using it as long as you can. They don't last as long as you think, though. They wear out pretty fast.
Pretty good expense,
yeah,
too.
But it might be the most important one. Like I
almost thought that may be your answer for what's changed the most in the sport is the price of the ropes.
Oh, that's a lot. Yeah, I get them for free. But,
oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, but no, honestly though, it hasn't changed to me as much as you. Like the whole event, it was big in 2001 when I first made it.
That's cool.
I mean, it's bigger now, but it had a big feel then. It really did.
So, as a dad who's got a legacy of NFR, what's your goals and what's your son's goals, and how are y'all working through, making that happen?
Well, they got the same goals as me. My oldest is 18 this year, and he won the Rookie of the Year in the PRCA. He finished like 25th, which ain't good. I mean, they take 15, but for being 18, because he turned kind of later in the year.
I got to tell you, I love that you approach it that way. And we were just talking in the last podcast about, not everybody winning a trophy. You're like, hey, he made it, but it wasn't that good.
Well, yeah, I mean, the goal is to make the NFR. 25th isn't good, right? Yeah. It's good for your age, but like at some point, I mean, he should do really good the next, start figuring out the next couple years, is, in my opinion, like to where you're
So are you
legit?
I mean, obviously you have all the credentials to do it. Or how is it as a dad training your son versus or him going to somebody else to be trained? Like, what is your approach there?
I don't. He's just been around me, and then I don't know. Like it's not as much coaching as you think. It's more. But he's been around me his whole life, so it's like. It's just little things here and there that I say. It's not every day is like a roping lesson out there. Gotcha. I just say certain things here and there. Sometimes he likes to hear it, sometimes he don't.
So can Dad still beat him?
He's getting where I mean, I can, but I think he's, honestly, right now, he probably is. I don't know. He's probably better than me. Just hard to say, but he's going to be good. That's and awesome. I got a 16-year-old that's going to be good, too.
That's awesome. Well, as we kind of start finish up and get you over to the Circle Y piece, I'm going to hit you. We always, at our podcast, we do a fast round of questions, right?
Oh, boy.
So we have 22 Creedmoor is a caliber we create. It's fast and flat. So I like to just hit you. And they usually lead on to other good conversations, but I'm going to ask you just some favorites and some memory pieces, and then at the very end, I'm going to ask you kind of what you got coming on your horizon. So here is our speed round of questions. Favorite horse you've ever owned?
Dew.
Fastest time you've ever made?
3.5.
Slowest time at the NFR that you ever made?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. I love that.
I wouldn't know that one.
Putting those out of your memory.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that one.
All right. Length of rope?
33 feet.
Okay. Yeah, just I know a lot of people have different sizes. Are you prefer super soft, medium soft?
Horn size, extra soft or softs.
Okay.
That's what I use.
Okay. Gosh, I'm trying to go through.
Am I answering too quick?
No, well, yeah. Most people are like, oh, I gotta think. You're hitting me fast. Which I mean, you're a timed event guy,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, my brain works fast.
Now, let me ask another question then. Bit that you prefer for your horse?
That's the hardest one because it's every horse is different.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, one will be a chain port, one will be a solid mouthpiece. It just, you kind of got to try different things, or if something don't feel right, you mix it up. So the bit deal is you got to have quite a few.
Okay. If you're thinking back in your career, favorite arena that you've ever roped in? If you had to go back and you're going to make one more run.
Besides like the NFR?
Yeah, well, maybe it could be the NFR. And if the answer is NFR, I'm going to ask you besides the NFR.
Besides the
NFR.
But
if you were looking back, you're like, man, I really would like to go back and rope one more time at XYZ.
Well, I can. So, but for me, probably. I mean, my favorite rodeo for some reason is Houston. I don't even really know why. And then, like Salinas, I won it a bunch of times. There's just something about that place, Salinas, California, that I liked it a lot.
What about that arena?
I just did so good there and roped so good there over the years. And I guess that maybe makes it where you just really like it.
That's awesome. I love it, man. Well, what do you got coming up on your horizon? What's new for you? And
I got a lot of kids stuff right now, but I got a few things in the works. But yeah, right now just trying to get these kids, get them to the professional level, and one's already here, like young in it, and then one's 2 years away. So
awesome. So creating that legacy long term.
Well, I've been doing a lot of amateur rodeoing in Texas, so getting the other one ready. So
that's awesome. So what? We're going to go from there. So you said, dang, you caught me off guard. I completely lost my train of thought there, man. You smoked me there on that one. Dang, now I don't know where I was going to go. Anyhow, I know what I was going to say. Where can people find and follow you? Like if somebody's looking to reach out to you.
I'm a little hard to track.
You don't have Instagram, Facebook?
I don't. I got a TikTok account. Yeah, I like TikToks.
Are you active on TikTok?
I've made a few.
Really?
My kids make them for me sometimes. Yeah, I love TikTok. I think TikTok's the best app ever. YouTube. I like YouTube stuff.
Yeah. So you have a YouTube channel yourself?
No, I don't. Okay. I just like YouTube. I don't really watch TV, but I'll watch YouTube and
that's awesome.
TikToks, I guess.
So what the last question I'll ask you, then we'll wrap up here. What is, if somebody was going to go watch a how-to rope video that you've done on YouTube, what video would you recommend?
I made a roping video. It's called The Perfect Spin. I made it about 10 years ago, but I did try hard when I did it. I think that's, I kind of go everything, if you want to be a header, kind of from start to finish on how to do it. So it's called The Perfect Spin.
Perfect Spin. I appreciate it, man. I'm going to get my boy on that when we get home.
Yeah.
And, man, Clay, I appreciate you.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Guys, be sure and check out Clay Tryan at the Circle Y booth. He'll be over there signing autographs. And we appreciate you listening to the podcast. And be sure and like and subscribe below, and we'll catch you later.